Hello, hello, hello. It's Lily Enrique here from Parent Support Network, coming into you today with episode number 44 of Parent Support Network TV. So today I wanted to, I felt drawn to share with you today a summary chapter that I wrote last year of my favourite book, The Revolting Child, A Blessing in Disguise. So this has had many, many reads and people have given me great feedback on the book. However, if you don't have 4+ hours to read this, or even 15 minutes to read the revisited, revised version, I'm going to read it to you today. So sit back, get comfy. It will take about 15 minutes and enjoy. The Revolting Child Revisited. At around mid-term of my second pregnancy at 32 years of age, I got a very severe migraine which rendered me unconscious. That migraine and what that doctor administered into my body and my unborn child's body changed our lives dramatically, to the point today where almost 30 years later, my absolute passion and business are a direct result of what happened that day. At 7:31 p.m. on an exciting June evening in 1993, my second son was born after a stressful labour and birth. I was put on a stress monitor during the labour, and he came into the world with a big bang. This was my second marriage, and so first baby with my husband Andrew, and 7.5 years after my first son was born. From birth, our son was very unsettled, and if not breastfeeding or sleeping, he was screaming. It was very stressful for myself and my husband and his big brother. Prior to my youngest son's birth, we lived in a quiet and calm home, as big brother was an easy and placid child. The next 16 years were like being on a constant roller coaster of emotions with much stress, worry and uncertainty. When my son was a toddler, he was diagnosed with ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, and childhood depression. By 4 years old, he had been recommended both antidepressants and stimulant drugs, and by the way, so had his mum, at least with the antidepressants. At that time, we lived in a large country town and had consulted with GPs, paediatricians, counsellors, psychologists and psychiatrists. And now, thanks to that, my son has a mental health history. The only recommendation we received from any of those practitioners was to medicate our son, and that was not an option for us. There were 5 childcare centres in that town, and at that time, he had a stint in all of them, basically because they either couldn't handle him or we felt obliged to move on because of all the negativity around his behaviour. There was no break for us as parents, and it affected our whole family and our interconnected relationships. We struggled for years trying to work out how to help our son. He went from school to school and from one challenge to another. We had some reprieve in his primary school years when we worked diligently on his diet and eliminating any offending chemicals or irritants from our home and his body, but it was still tough. His self-worth was at a low, and like us, he couldn't understand why he was the way he was. He was often either sad or angry, which was tough to witness. We would have done anything to help him, but sadly, the answers were challenging to find. Moving into his teen years was another whole level, and we experienced 10x the severity of challenges that those we dealt with as a young child. Oh boy, this is even hard to write after so many years. Between grade 5 and 7, he went to 4 different schools and finally got asked to leave, aka kicked out, at age 15. His early teen years were beyond challenging. He got in trouble with the police for assault, took unknown substances and got into all sorts of things he shouldn't have. I recall one incident where we found him in a drunken stupor in a gutter at age 15, which took him 2 days to sober up from. This incident became a huge part of our healing, though, as we started mentoring with a parenting coach, our angel Frank, who worked with street kids and gang members in the USA. We consulted with Frank, who guided us through a very different way of communicating and dealing with our issues. that I believe changed the trajectory of our life path and our son was currently on at that time. I had already written 2 of my 6 books at this time, but my most favourite book came from this journey with Frank. I named book number 3, The Revolting Child, A Blessing in Disguise, which is this one here. And there's a story behind that title for another time. The reason I'm now doing what I do as a parenting strategist and the absolute passion I have came from something that happened at a launch I did for this book written in 2009. Our son was invited to the book launch, and at the end of the talk, my husband and I we had a Q&A. A man put his hand up and inquired if he could ask our son a question. My son hesitated, but agreed. The question was a good one, and my ears pricked when he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "We heard your story from your mum and dad, and we can see the transformation you've had in just 10 months, keeping in mind he just turned 16 at this point. What was it that took you from there to where you are now?" And the answer he gave still brings me to tears. It still really affects me. He took a few seconds to answer, and then he said, "When I saw the effort my mum and dad went to be the best parents they could be, I just wanted to be the best son." So let that one sink in for a sec. I'm sure I would have been a blubbering mess if I wasn't in so much shock or surprise or elation at the time. So the work we had done and implemented in the prior 18 months with our angel Frank was worth it. The dedication and commitment my husband and I agreed to do back to back, even when we didn't understand what was being requested, even when we trusted blindly what was being asked of us, had paid off. We totally transformed the upside down parenting we were used to and turned it right side up. As a result of that total transformation, and I don't mean things were perfect, but boy, oh boy, we had our son back, and that's all that mattered. Fast forward another 12 or so years, and our son can now boast he has a successful partnership in an electrical contracting business with his dad. He became an A-grade electrician, even though he had barely attended school between 13 and 15, and left with nothing positive to show academically or behaviourally. He has a beautiful partner and a wonderful, loving relationship with all of his family. He and his brother are now great mates, and they have much in common with each other. His relationship with his dad is incredible, and although I didn't get to go into details earlier, it was strained back years ago. This is their 10th year of working together with not one disagreement, argument, or raised voice. He constantly recognises us and appreciates us as parents. I get so many flowers and beautiful letters that would make any parent cry. He is kind, compassionate, and a caring human being who loves his family deeply and respects his planet and earth. He is vegan for environmental reasons and loves nature and his animals. One day when he's ready, he will make an absolutely awesome dad. So I'm sure you can understand now why I'm so very passionate about paying this forward, why I want to help and positively impact other families who also desire happy and healthy children and relationships. I've been conducting seminars and workshops now for over 20 years to audiences as small as 10 and as large as 500 plus, and everything in between. I've travelled the countryside, going from town to town, state to state, educating and impacting thousands. I've been featured on TV, Today, Tonight, twice, been a regular parenting specialist on radio, and featured in many magazines, newspapers, blog articles, and more recently sought after as a podcast guest speaker. All of those accolades pale in significance as far as I'm concerned, compared to something I stumbled upon thanks to the universal laws of attraction in 2013. Prior to 2013, I was happily sharing with audiences of all kinds, with parents, grandparents, educators, and other caregivers what had worked for our family. Whilst I was happily doing that, I didn't have an exact set of strategies I could teach them to duplicate the results we achieved. So as chance would have it, well, actually, it wasn't chance, I was led to learning about something called the Nurtured Heart approach, or we abbreviate NHA. This so aligned with what our angel Frank taught us that I was over the moon with excitement. I became hungry to learn more and devoured everything I could find on the internet. I took it seriously, connected with a local psychologist teaching it, and in March 2014 became accredited an accredited certified trainer with the founder, Howard Blasser, when he came to Australia for the first time for an intensive week-long training. I went out into the world with such a positive passion to share this far and wide, and I did so for some time, helping so many families to better understand how to connect and relationship with their children and educators with their students. The feedback I received was incredible, and it felt great to be making such a positive difference. Then, can I say, S-bleep-bleep-T happened. It's a long story, but I allowed myself to be influenced by someone who did not have my best interests at heart. I was dragged away, lost my vision and passion, got distracted, blah, 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 excuse. Needless to say, whilst parenting has always been my passion, I had a few years away not actively educating and working directly with parents or families. Then in 2020, I got some big universal nudges. Lillian, you know what you have to do. Yes, universe, I replied. I do know, but I don't want to start again. Lillian, you do know what you need to do. Just do it. Damn these universal pulls, I thought. It didn't take me long, though, to acknowledge that this is what I was meant to be doing. I began by offering and conducting my parenting course based on one of my books, book number 5 of 6, The Best Parent I Can Be, Positive Parenting with the Law of Attraction, which I had taught years before. This was a 12-week interactive online course, and the small group of families who joined my son Nathan and I on this course got such transformation that I was eager to continue to help more families. By the way, I haven't told you yet that my eldest son went on to be a naturopath, herbalist and nutritionist, beginning his long university triple degree in 2005. This was a direct result of our journey with his younger brother. He became inspired to study naturopathy when he was 17 and witnessed the journey and transformation in his younger brother when we sought holistic assistance versus medication. This same son at age 13 attempted to take his life by tying a noose around his neck high up in a tree one day, out of total despair with what was happening in our family. I didn't even know this until I wrote my book, The Revolting Child, and asked all the family to contribute. Imagine the heartache to find that out when he was in his 20s. Not only did the behaviour of our youngest son, and more importantly, the way we responded, affect him and us as parents, but the good kid was adversely affected to the point where he didn't want to live in that moment of sadness and despair. Whew. But thankfully, out of that huge adversity, there also came many blessings. My naturopath son and I now often work in partnership, conducting parenting courses together and recommending families in need to each other. He covers the physical and emotional health and wellness side, and I the parenting and relationships. We make an awesome team. So now I'm totally back in flow, and I want to be able to offer all my families what I know will truly be truly life-changing for them, the Nurtured Heart approach. I learned that I learned 7 years earlier. The only challenge was my accreditation had expired and I needed to advance my training. So I committed to a 6-day live online training via the US. I was excited to re-immerse myself in this beautiful heart-centered approach, even if I had to do the night shift, 12:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. each day. So now I'm an advanced trainer in Nurtured Heart approach, and I have this huge mission to share it far and wide, and now there'll be no stopping me. So many parents, most parents I'd say, are parenting what we in Nurtured Heart approach call upside down. This concept was not new to me, as I identified that's exactly what we were doing 2 years before with our 2 sons. So many parents unintentionally and from the very best of what they know and with so much love for their children tend to parent the way they were parented. It's not right or wrong, but from generation to generation, it appears we have carried forward this upside down way of relationshiping. When you think about it, and if you remember back to when you were a kid, you may relate to this idea of upside down parenting. Can I ask you to ponder this question, and can you give it answer truthfully? When communicating with your children, do you give the juiciest energy, connection and relationship when things are going well, or when rules are broken, kids are being uncooperative or disrespectful? Do you come to life and always have time to reprimand, lecture, nag, threaten, or punish when kids are at their worst behaviour? Do you give less connection, energy, and attention when the kids are behaving? You might give out a good job, well done, or thanks for helping type of recognition, but do you come to life with all the bells and whistles like you do when they are not going the way you want them to? I can 100% say that I came most to life when our son was doing the wrong thing, giving him so much juicy relationship when yelling, nagging, reprimanding, punishing, threatening, crying, pleading for him to do better, be better, to stop causing so much trouble. But how much attention, relationship, and energy did I give him when he was being more successful, when he was being kind, thoughtful, cooperative? Did I even notice? Did I watch for even the baby steps of success, or when he wasn't breaking the rules? Did I give him any juicy recognition for those baby steps of success? Sadly, that's a big no. So my son learned at a young age from us, his parents, and his teachers alike, that the juiciest and most connected relationship came when he was misbehaving, doing the wrong thing. How can we blame him for seeking that out when we taught him to do so? What we have come to learn works with parenting right side up, with nurtured heart approach style, is that we give the least attention to and refuse to energize negativity. We do not reward negativity, distractions, and outbursts that distract them from their greatness with elevated energy, connection, or relationship. What we do instead is to relentlessly create and energize positivity and success. We work on identifying, describing, and expressing appreciation for steps, large and small, a child makes in manifesting his or her positive choices and intrinsic greatness. We actively initiate opportunities for children to be successful and help them to identify their greatness. Also of great importance is to set and enforce clear limits and consequences in an unenergized way, and to help children to reset themselves and to self-regulate so that we can then create the next moment as an opportunity for success. Learning these three nurtured heart approach stands helps me to help so many families to achieve the loving and connected relationships they truly desire and deserve. What we have achieved as a family is what so many crave to achieve. We share a house, we eat our meals together every night. We recognise each other for our strengths and greatnesses. We love each other unconditionally. We are truly blessed. So ask me, Lillian, are you glad you had the journey you did, experienced the pain and hardship you did, struggled for so many years? And without a second's hesitation, I say a big yes. I'm glad our family went through what it did, because without that journey, that struggle, those times of despair and desperation, I wouldn't be here sharing this story with you now. I wouldn't have positively influenced and impacted hundreds or even thousands of families over the years. I'm glad we had that exact journey, the exact journey we did, because now I have true purpose. I not only enjoy amazing, incredible, loving, heart-centered relationships, but I can also guide and help others to enjoy the same. This is what makes my heart truly sing, knowing that I'm making a difference, not only in families now, but in years and generations to come. My goal is to help people see that their upside-down parenting is not serving them or their children well, and with a few important tweaks, learning the nurtured heart approach, and improvements on how they are currently parenting and relationshiping, we can turn things right side up. What further excites me is that this way of connecting and relationshiping becomes an absolute way of being, a way we come to naturally talk to and communicate with not only our family, but all fellow human beings. Imagine all the love, positivity, and greatness spreading around the world, one person at a time, by us all focusing on the way we communicate with each other and what we choose to focus on our energy on. Always remember, the universal law that we choose to energize and focus our attention on expands. We get more of it back. So let me ask you as a final question, what are you energizing and focusing on? So I hope you enjoyed that story. I'll actually pop the link for the document below as well. So if you'd like to read that again in your own time or share it with somebody, you're very welcome to. thank you if you listened in. I appreciate that. And I hope that you enjoyed it and that you might find it in your heart to share it with somebody it could help. That's it from me today. Lily and Riki, parenting strategist from Parent Support Network. Bye for now.